I'm sat here. So, nearly 3 months. 3 months ago, I think I was sat here. And a spasm almost of. I'm almost sure I don't talk about this thing other people call illness. I'm pretty sure as a little. Anyway, it's about getting the last possible squirt out of that battery, and we'll swap it soon. So, when that light goes off, but bizarrely, if the computer is in, the laptop is in that position there, it almost certainly continually charges it. Whereas if I put it in any other position, the little orange light, it's gone off. There we go. Yeah. And it's a kind of zen. I don't mind it. You do it first. These things come along, and at first they drain you a little, but then, hey, just go with that. New flow. Anyway, quickly, because there's hardly any battery on this. Yeah, so, about 10 weeks. So I know I had a little, I'm almost sure, a little in August, little kind of patch of almost certainly pneumonia. Random. These things happen. 50-year-olds just get that. 40-year-olds just get that. Just random. Nothing to do with my lifestyle. My lifestyle is so much more healthy than ever before. Yep, so 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, it's like, yeah, it had taken my body nearly 3 months to get over that, because I was weakened, my legs were feeling wobbly, weeks on end and no mojo. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, just started to get better. Bloody flu comes along. I haven't had a proper full-on flu for 6 or 7 years, maybe 6 years. So be it. Anyway, why have I put this camera on? It is almost a kind of act of performance art. That's going to sound so wanky. This space here, I kind of, if I'm in this region, I monitor it. In a way, it's the best space, but only under certain circumstances. First of all, in the summer and autumn, forget it. I just cannot. The conspicuous consumption, the promenade, but it's there's a whole range of behaviours that the main one, there's a guy just walking down there 5 minutes ago. It's always the same, particularly middle-aged to older middle-aged people. If they're wearing something slightly sporty, something out of it's so hard to quickly describe it, but anyone who is wearing an article of clothing that makes them have a certain look, and if they've got a dog, and he's walking down with a cream Labrador, and I could see straight away, he's like, there's nobody else around, nobody, but he's got to boss his dog, and then he let it off. These people, and they're the majority, they always stare. It's as if there's this kind of almost, this got so much worse after COVID, during and after 2020. It's like they've got to be vigilante or what. There's no apparent. No, I was actually sitting, resending a message online to somebody. It's horrible. Anyway, so the good thing about this space, though, is that those burgers, the vigilante lot around and about, they know that the surfers come and park here. So you don't really get noticed. In other words, it'll just be somebody here connected with the waves, which is actually really good. It's good. Anonymity is all I'm interested in is not ever being noticed. But then when the actual waves are up, these absurd kidults just invade, descend. I don't want with their dry robes and they're all so self-important. Anyway, forget that makes me sound horrible. And furthermore, I like, as soon as I see the slightest sign that they're coming, I go. It's aesthetically so depressing to encounter, to observe them. So, but it is like, now, I knew this morning, or rather I happened to be, where was I? I can't even remember where I was last night. Further, I wanted to have, every week or two, watch a film. Decided to use the free Wi-Fi down there, which I don't really like doing, because you have to be close into the thick of these. I only do that when it's raining, so there's nobody around. Anyway, point. Yeah, and I noticed, okay, none of the surf people, not a very nice day. It's a really great, this is like, you are not, even though I'm slightly contradicting myself, you're not noticed. I don't want to be noticed. I'm just in my own world of thinking about, not thinking about, just going with various thoughtful, philosophical takes. And for example, the most important thing of all, I suppose you could say, the last few years, is at last the king of the heterodox. I mean, I wish there were one word to sum this up. There is no more alternative media. Media is the self-made. Yeah, so all the supposed better minds. I mean, even Richard Dawkins is very much part of this. The last 10 years have gradually gravitated on into their various heterodox thinking, podcasty, YouTube-y, whatever, and they all kind of make out that they're not part of the fray of YouTube, but they all are. They just pretend otherwise. That's where they get most of their revenue, I should imagine. Now, it's almost certain. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, now, why is it you have to preface everything? You have to preface everything. Even the king of them all. I've needed to understand what he's about. The king of them all, Mr. Sam Harris, and his, I mean, I didn't even know, but this word, I saw it in about 2020, this dreadful new word they came up with, sense making. I mean, that alone is a narcissistic personality disorder, just speaking in that way. Anyway, even like virtually everything he ever says, it's like always, it's got its qualifications at the beginning and his qualifiers. Well, my qualifier over 15 years of age, 15 to 30, 4 of my most significant friends, real proper ongoing friends, part of my life, 2 gay men and 2 gay women. In fact, the gay woman, Beth, who we didn't know was gay until a few years later. Anyway, it's irrelevant. I don't mean it in a cheeky way. It's like, I got no problem with it. I totally accept gayness, and had a, oh no, here comes another one of them with the Oh, we probably got two of them here. I'm not even going to turn the camera around. I find it so depressing. They have on oh, this one's got nervous on her lead. A great big sign saying nervous. They have great big signs on the leads. There's a greyhound. It's like, oh, there it is. Well, you could, no. Yeah. It's like, I don't, what is this? Anyway, to the point. One of the very few more active I sat down about 4 or 5 years ago with trying to make a list of what are the best terms. Homemade media, independent, independent, let's just keep to independent, indie. But it is the majority now, it's the mainstream. It is, more people look at a combination of Neil Oliver, Piers Morgan, Sam Harris, Weinstein, that Christine Kostonkin, or whatever he's called, trigonometry. More people look at it. That's how they consume, get their opinion. The problem is it's got a terrible double-edged sword. The long form is wonderful, but all of the long form. I mean, I sat down and like summer 2020. Okay, I've had a few people talk about this Jordan Peterson. But have a look. I can't believe how poor the overall let's invent a new word. Message making of this not very good intellectual. You can see exactly what it's about. There's a kind of slight homoerotic, slight kind of, hey, there's a guy who kind of thrills us a bit with his whole persona, anyway, there's a fundamental critique of Peterson which straight away I saw. It's like, God, I hope no young adult encounters his stuff. Anyway, to keep to the point, one of the very few who I did value, there's only like 2 or 3 I value, was Douglas Murray, and over a few years I used to tune in to what's Douglas got to say about this freedom of speech, you can't say that issue, and he was all right. But the best thing of all, I had no idea that Douglas Murray was gay, because he alone didn't make it part of his work being a public voice. And I admire that immensely. He's gone wrong last year. Anyway, to the point. I read the book Sapiens by Yuval Harari, or whatever it is, however you pronounce him. Straight away. I mean, they were great books. Mary Midgley. Dawkins, at least. Dawkins was a great writer and properly studied a valid science, i.e. genetics. Now, what's been the story of the last 30 years? Well, okay, he wrote it in 1976. Came along at the same time as Thatcher and neoliberal economics. Everything can be brought down to this tiny little switch. On or off. A gene on or off. Or 4 molecules. No. At the same time, there were some scientists who were writing just as well as Dawkins, and I read all of them as well. These are big books. I was like, nah, I'm with the other lot. And in the last year or two, the public, it's wrong to call it pop science. That's actually wrong. There is a totally, Darwin Darwin, you could say, was a pop scientist, translating scientific findings in difficult scientific language and thought into something that not the ordinary person, the politician, the policymaker, the thinker, the writer, can then understand, as find useful metaphors within, is essential. It's absolutely essential. Ancient Greeks did it. Blah blah blah. Yeah. So there's and Dawkins may well have been. I mean, and it's terribly important. In fact, it's probably the most important thing in British thinking in Western thinking the last 40 years. Though Britain became the forerunner of it, America had a retained, in many ways, there's another double-edged sword. So they retain their sort of mysticism through their rather inane Christian fundamentalist thinking in many areas, and yet so that kind of, well, anyway, that just kind of fluffs it all up in America. Here, it's like, oh no, we love this. Dawkins, everything can be specifically, precisely brought down to, do you have a gene for this or that? And it was crystal clear wrong. Anyway, but most people still believe that. So the last few years, more intelligent ways have come into the public domain of, well, actually, this multiple systems ongoing, multiple forces, or whatever you want to call them, and some may be from the fairies. We cannot ever know. It's too complicated. And now, to me, I love that. Anyway, I picked up the book Sapiens by Mr. Nouvel 7 or 8 years ago, and I heard people talking about it, and I heard interviews with him, and it's just, God, what a load of self-important. A lot of it is quite dubious, arrogant, very one-dimensional. I mean, didn't we learn this lesson with Dawkins? Clearly not. Anyway, so he becomes the superstar of, let's call it whatever you want, anthropology, sociobiology. Well, the two are, it's impossible to disentangle the two. Otherwise, one of the world's great thinkers. And last night we have at last Mr. Sam Harris has Yuval Harari, who, unlike Douglas Murray, of course, needs to tell everybody he's gay. Now, of course, I can't make any kind of comment about that, other than I can simply say that my very intelligent gay friends, very intelligent, every single one in my 20s, at some point or other, would actually intelligently work out for themselves that them and all the people they encountered were really a bit twisted inside. Oh, of course you can't say that. And perhaps, I mean, this isn't actually a standard truth about people who indulge in or are attracted to the same sex. It's wrong. It's all very difficult to understand, even for the top thinkers. But a lot do tend towards melodrama. Anyway, so it's almost like drum roll. The world's most successful thinker, Sam Harris. He is really. All the rest of them have got their kind of slightly bad PR surrounding them. He has some bad PR. But gets Yuval Harari, who had people involved in massacres, who were massacred in the kibbutzes. And what I heard was so really, well, it's intellectually retrograde. It's as simple as that. So lacking. And actually pretty narcissistic. Da, 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 da. So, nothing much really in that.